Hey, we're on the grounds at the Farm Progress Show. Got this huge truck here that belongs to Whistling Diesel. Yeah, he's here on the show grounds. We're going to talk about this show as well as some of the things we saw at the Half Century of Progress show, where they show all the old tractors and all the old combines working in the fields. We'll get to both of these in this episode. Let's get started. Let's take a quick look at this Massey 1840M. Now, this tractor was introduced a little over a year ago, but due to the supply issues and COVID and everything else, it really hasn't been available until very recently. And I'd heard about it a year ago, but I became really interested in this tractor when I recently saw a video of a dealer pulling a Rhino TS10 10-foot flex wing mower behind this tractor. And yeah, we're starting at the rear of the tractor because that's really kind of what interests me. That's in a lot of ways the business end of a tractor. One feature I want to show you right up front is the distance from the top of the drawbar to the PTO shaft. It's a full 8 inches, maybe 8.5, which meets that spec for ASABE, being able to separate that PTO shaft from the drawbar. Plenty of room there to hook up a Rhino TS10 flex wing or anything else that has the larger CV joint on it. This tractor is offered with up to 3 rear remotes. This one's got 1 on it, but it's 3, and I believe they just kind of stack a similar approach right across here. It seems to be well contained and yet easily accessible there. Let's go around to the front of the tractor. Now, this is what they refer to as the soft start PTO. Basically, you push this button down and it clicks and latches, and then you turn the knob to start the PTO, and it starts it slowly. So if you have a mower or something that requires a lot of torque to start, you're not at risk of killing the tractor. You're also going to be taking it easy as far as the way it starts. You're not going to damage the equipment. I don't think you're going to damage equipment anyway with a full speed start, but it certainly is more gentle on the attachment. Kind of a nifty feature. This machine competes with the lower end 3Rs. I would say the 3033R for the smaller one, the 3039R for this one. They have an 1835M and an 1840M. This is the 40. They're on the same frame, same size, and so I think on the Deere front it'd be a 3033 or 3039R for those two. On the Kubota side, it would be an L3560 or an L4060. Be a pretty good matchup as far as just a competitive comparison. One of their marketing guys has got a key. He's going to let us start it up, even here at the show. Hey, I've got Adam here with me. Adam's a product specialist. That sounds like you know, you're like a real brain here on this tractor.
You know it. You've
got something here that you were really proud of. Can you tell me a little bit about what we got here?
Yeah, so this is what we call our soft drive loader suspension. And so what it is an accumulator that plumbs into the lift cylinders of the tractor. What happens is when you go down the road without this, you're gonna, with a heavy load in the bucket, there's a lot of bouncing going over that terrain. You're gonna feel that rocking as the weight goes back and forth as you go over those bumps. When you put this soft drive suspension on here, you're gonna get a little dampening effect in your lift cylinders. So as you go down the road, your loader can flex up and down, but the weight, that rocking motion won't be transferred back into the tractor, affecting the ride of the operator.
I've seen this on some bigger equipment, right? I mean, this is a pretty normal feature for the more expensive equipment, like a larger backhoes and payloaders and that type of thing, but I've never seen it on such a small rig. Now, some people don't like this feature. Can I turn it off?
Yes, so all you got to do, if you're out there digging or you're moving snow or something like that where you don't want this feature on, you just come out here and turn this valve and it's off.
Okay, let's try it out.
Yeah.
Well, you can see that cylinder give a little bit. It just has just a little bit of give in it. Now turn it off and do the same thing. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay. Now when it's off, I really bounce back here. See, let's try it with it on. Noticeable. Yeah. Much different. Wow, this is really nice. Now this is a sound isolated cab. We've got a little water here. I'm having trouble seeing you very well. But Sound isolated cab. I'm actually going to run it full throttle. They probably won't like that, but I'm going to see how it sounds in here. You know, it's not as quiet as a full-size tractor with a, you know, a much more expensive isolation system, but this is a very nice cab. It's fully separated. You can see the separation right there in between the cab and the engine compartment. This is a refined machine. I'm impressed with it. 3-range transmission. Controls are handy, reachable, even while your arms are resting on the armrests. Got a separate control for the rear PTO and mid PTO. Usually we see a single control with multiple positions. Here we've got a totally separate control. I like that. That allows me to be totally in neutral. Both of them would be able to spin freely at that point. Up to 3 rear remotes, as I mentioned. Radio standard in this deluxe cab. It's got a air seat. I should have pumped that baby up. This is a Grammar air seat, top-notch air seat. This is the same company that we used for Johnny 5 for our custom air seat on it. Very impressed with that. As far as I know, the Deere is the only other one that offers an air seat in their deluxe cab. Air conditioning, of course, is standard. Yeah, it's a nice rig. These tractors are made by Iseki in Japan. The modification that was made about a year ago was to switch back to the Iseki engine. They had a Shibaro engine before that, but now due to some politics in the company and everything, they've moved to the Iseki engine. So it's fully made in Japan. We have just a few guidelines that we suggest when you're going to be shopping for a compact tractor. We like to say that we want something that's made by a large manufacturer committed to the compact tractor industry. They're not fly-by-night. They haven't just recently entered the industry. We also have a rule that they make their own tractors. Okay, that's kind of a line. Well, I make a little bit of an exception here about the make your own tractors with the relationship that Massey and Iseki have, because it's a relationship that's been so long and so solid, ongoing for many, many years, that I'm certain you're going to be able to get parts, and I'm pretty certain that that relationship is going to extend into the future. I could be wrong. Nobody can predict the future, but any partnership that's been going on as long as this one has and as successful as it has, I think it'll continue into the future. Getting parts is the main issue with compact tractors. You got to focus on that. Of course, the features are important, but you got to be able to get parts. Another huge attraction here. No, we don't get to drive this one. This is the largest ag tractor in the world. Built in 1977. It's been around a long time, 1,150 horsepower. There are multiple big buds in the world, but this is the only one built at this size, the 747. It's 1,150 horsepower, weighs 120,000 pounds. Titan, I guess, is paid to have it brought here, and they put some huge tires on it, and it's drawn a lot of people. No question, this has been a busy attraction at the show. Let's take a little more of a look. It's got a 16-cylinder Detroit engine. It screams. They had it at Half Century of Progress show a couple of years ago, I believe, and they were pulling a 20-something bottom plow. It was crazy, and yeah, it's huge. Hey, I just had to show you this B2401 narrow version. 35, 36 inches wide. Amazing. It's got tiny tires on it. This is so unique. I don't think they offer it with a loader. It would make sense that they wouldn't. I'm not positive about that. This one doesn't have one. It would probably be pretty tipsy with a loader, but it is unbelievable how narrow this machine is. What we have behind us here is a 5-foot box blade, and it appears to dwarf it. I'm presuming that they use this machine for orchards, vineyards, where they need something narrow to do some tillage work, or maybe even pull a small sprayer through. I don't know exactly what it would be used for, but I'm guessing that's the purpose. Very handy. It sits more like a lawn tractor because I have to sit on top of the wheels rather than in between them when you get to a larger, wider tractor, so it's kind of unique. The front tires are just, they're cute as can be. We've had several episodes recently where we've shown the Rhino TS10 and the connection issues we've had with our Kubota LX3310. But we have a good opportunity here. We've got a lot of range of Kubota equipment, so we can actually do some measurements to see how those PTO shafts are on the different sizes. Here in front of us, this is an MX 5400, so that'd be a couple of sizes, maybe 3 or 4 sizes above the LX3310, a significantly different tractor. They've got this hooked to a 12-foot flex wing. Let's check out that PTO shaft. It looks to me to still be pretty close. I'm seeing the bottom of the PTO shaft to the top of the drawbar, even on this MX 5400 being about just over 5 inches. This mower here has a smaller CV joint than the Rhino TS10, but I don't like how close this is. Seems to me to be pretty close to a problem if I were to be down in a ditch. This is the standard L series. This is a 2501, and it has the same 5.5 to 6 inches from the top of the drawbar to the PTO shaft that we saw on the LX 26 and 3310. This is the Grand L 4060. And I've got 5 inches to the bottom of the PTO shaft from the top of the drawbar. Yeah, now I believe there is a drawbar available for this tractor, but still that's pretty close to run any of these larger PTO implements, the pull type with the CV joints. And this tractor is big enough to pull it too. I'm all the way up to the MX 6000 here, and I'm still seeing that same 5 inches from the top of the drawbar to the PTO shaft. So if you want to run that Rhino TS10 on these units, you'd have to get a drawbar. That'd be the only way you could fit it in there. I just find this interesting that they're trying to put that drawbar so close to the PTO. With a standard PTO shaft, it's going to work fine. You get a bigger CV joint. Won't be good. This is an M4 071, so finally up at the M4 series, we're able to see the kind of distance we need. That's a good 8.5, 9 inches. Now this is a much larger tractor, so I'm finally glad to be able to see some space in there.
They have field demos at both of these shows. Of course, it takes a lot more acreage to be able to do the demos for these new machines. That's 40 feet wide, 16 rows on 30 inches, and he's going up to 7 miles an hour, maybe even faster with that new Deere X9 combine. And this one's, I think, showing off the corn head, Drago corn head. Notice the ropes and how far they keep you from the machines. Now in contrast, here's the Half Century of Progress show. Notice the UTVs right there by the machines. Sometimes the tractors would have to wait on a UTV to get out of the way. And here we're clearly only a couple of rows apart from the combine. In fact, I kind of had to turn my back here to keep from getting hit by cobs. I found an ear that had been missed, so I stepped over and threw it in the corn head. This is an old machine, a 45. This show is on the former Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul. Every other year they plant in corn and soybeans just for this show. The old Massey's kind of special for both Christy and I. Her dad had a 300 just like this, and my family had the larger 410 and 510. I think that's what makes this show special. Seeing these old machines actually operating again rather than just sitting around or rusting out like most of them do is really special and brings back a lot of sentimental value for, well, many folks who grew up on farms. Looks like we're going to try a little unload on the go here from the mini Moline onto a little international grain cart. This show just gives you a very hands-on feel, and it's a bunch of guys just out having fun. At this point, we're riding in our Gator right beside this 5020 while he's doing some field cultivating. There's an old case over there in the background pulling what we would call a cultimulcher. Here's an Oliver 1955, looks just like new. If you've watched our channel for long, you know that I have a special place in my heart for the Olivers. That's what I started on. Hey look, here's Jason from Big Tractor Power. He's rarely in front of the camera, but he is this time. They run these big rollers so they can get it all packed down and plow it and repeat all the fun again tomorrow, every day of the show. Now here's something unique. The guy has modified this 95 combine, not only with tracks, that's interesting on its own, but he's got two-row headers side by side. That's why he has to go so slow. He's running 4 rows through that old 95. That's a big load. It's one thing to paint a tractor just to sit at a tractor show, but there's a lot of moving parts you have to get working on those old combines to actually make them harvest. I'm impressed with anybody that gets it done. Now they've picked the corn, cob and all, and taken it back to a stationary sheller. We didn't get any video of the sheller, but here are the cobs being distributed back on the field with an old manure spreader. Now let's go back just a little bit further. This guy's cultivating corn with the horses. This corn is planted check rows, notice the angles, so that they can cultivate it both ways. This made it much easier to control the weeds. Yeah, you'd have to say more than get up to get me to pull that plow. That's impressive. This area appears to be for the compact tractors. There's an old Cub lowboy. I think there was only 2 that showed up, and the other guy was having trouble getting his plow to work. Another spot for the garden tractors here in that same area. Again, these are supposed to be old garden tractors, probably 50 years old or more. This 430 is trying to pull a 2-bottom plow. He kept getting choked up. I think the cutters weren't quite low enough. As you can see, you can walk right along with the equipment. There had to be 1,000 UTVs, maybe even more. People were responsible and respectful. It was just a giant sandbox where everybody was playing or watching somebody else play and having a great time.
We've had a really good time here at the show. Johnny Two's been here with us at the Mosquito booth. We've had the Precision Mini 320 Grapple. This is a brand new Grapple. We haven't shown it yet on the channel. Actually, you got a little bit of peek of it in the latest episode where we were cleaning up all the dead ash trees with 4 tractors. I think it was called Multi-Grapple or Traffic Jam, something like that. 2 clamps, a little narrower than the 322. The biggest difference is that the cylinders are in the middle instead of on the ends. Now, being on the ends works, and the Mini 322 is still built that way because for a skid steer quick attach, they can't put the cylinders over here. But for John Deere only, they've been able to move the cylinders to the middle, and it makes for a little bit lighter weight design. This thing's about 255 overall. That includes cylinders filled with oil and the hoses. Yeah, and it's still got the full big mouth approach at 48 inches, just a huge opening. Check out our sign. A lot of people came to visit us. If you came to visit us here at the Farm Progress Show, thanks for coming. We really appreciate a chance to get to know a lot of you. We've got some additional shows coming up. You can look at our website, tractortimewithtim.com, and you'll see a list of our upcoming visits. Be happy to meet you at these shows. It's a lot of fun for us. If you see us at the show, even if we're talking to somebody else, be sure to flag us down and say hello. We really enjoy that. It's been fascinating to visit these 2 shows, Half Century of Progress and Farm Progress Show. Just see the differences, right? I mean, the older iron that we saw there was big and tough, and just a huge amount of people really enjoying that. It seems like it's changed a little bit at this point. Yeah, some of the equipment is bigger even than what we saw over there, but it's also more technical. A lot more electronics, a lot more computers, just a lot more details being dealt with now in farming than there was before. Totally different clientele. This is big agriculture. That is more smaller farmers that are working what I would consider smaller, 1,000 acres or under, down even to 100 acres or maybe 50 acres that they might have to deal with. So it's very fascinating in that sense. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.